Okay, let's go. Back to the kitchen. Okay, so we discussed the easier things, basically, the countertops and the refrigerators and the freezers. Now you have, let's say, the sinks, or let's do about the sinks. So there are many sinks that are not stainless steel. If they're not stainless steel, then you cannot kasher them for Pesach. So nowadays it's easier because in the stores, in the kosher markets and other places, they sell, actually in LA, they sell sink inserts. In fact, it actually fits into the sink. It has lips on the side. If this is big and small, they fit into your sink. So then you don't have to kasher the sink because it covers the whole inside of the sink and you just put your dishes in there.
And it's watertight from the bottom?
It has holes at the bottom. It's almost like a little mini sink, but it's plastic. And then you use it from year to year, and then you have it. Now the issue is with the faucets. Okay, years ago, before all these new gadgets, life was much easier. Simple refrigerators, simple stoves, simple everything. Years ago, you had a sink, so basically you had a stainless steel sink or not, but the faucet was stainless steel. It was two handles with a thing that came down. It was all metal. It was very easy. So how do you kasher that? You don't use it for 24 hours. And the only practical way of doing that is by turning off the faucet underneath, turning off the hot water intake. Otherwise, people forget to use it. And then you boil up the kettle, and then you pour it all over the faucet.
Just the hot water?
The faucet, the problem today is a lot of the faucets that look like metal are really plastic. A lot of the faucets today most of the faucets today are actually not even metal, they're plastic. And not only that, they have the parts that pull out, they pull out and this and that. Those are much more problematic for Pesach because, when you have these things that the handle pulls out and you have that whole thing, you can't kasher that. First, there's no way you can clean it out properly. And secondly, it's not a material that's kasherable. So even if you have a faucet, let's say, but the faucet is made out of plastic, so what people should do for Pesach is not use it for 24 hours and pour boiling hot water over the faucet, even though really plastic, we don't kasher like that for Pesach. Year-round it's fine, but not for Pesach. And then what people do, the best thing to do is, the most practical thing to do, is take cheesecloth. You know what cheesecloth is? You can buy it in the store.
Yeah.
Thank you. You buy the cheesecloth, and you just take it, and you put it over the faucet, and the water goes through the cheesecloth anyway. So you take a piece of cheesecloth, you cover the whole faucet from the bottom up, and how do you keep it on the faucet? You put a rubber band here and there, and then it keeps it on the faucet. So you have a faucet covered with cheesecloth, which is again good, and then you don't have a problem with the chametz. But you can't pull out that thing on Pesach because then it's problematic about kashering it. So that, what?
Is there any point some people wrap it with aluminum foil? Does
No, you could, aluminum foil is good.
Is it pointless or?
No, it's the same thing like cheesecloth. The reason why I'm saying cheesecloth is pashut more practical.
Is it just
No, it's to cover it. It's not to hold it. It's to cover the whole faucet, because if the faucet is plastic, you can't kasher it. And it was used for hot chametz a whole year. I mean, in the sink, there's always chametz. So you're going to have to cover the faucet. Okay? Now, how are you going to cover with aluminum foil? You can't cover the place where the water comes out of, because then the water won't come out. Right? So you need something that the water is going to actually go through. So the easiest thing, the most practical thing is, less headache, is just cheesecloth, and you put it underneath, and you cover the whole faucet, and you just keep it on by a few rubber bands here and there, and then it stays.
Well, if it's a stainless steel, you don't have to cover it.
If it's stainless steel, then you have to pour boiling hot water over it. Yeah, or metal, right? Not. But I'm saying today, a lot of the faucets look metal, but they're not metal. They're actually plastic.
Sorry, I didn't understand what that is.
Talk louder, sir.
What does the cheesecloth do?
It covers it.
Covers for what? What is the...
Because again, you can't kasher it. Correct?
You can't kasher.
You can't kasher the faucet if it's plastic.
Why?
Yeah, but there's hot water squirts on it, a lot chametz squirts on it. Everything in the sink is full of hot chametz a whole year.
Right.
A faucet is not only something that water comes out of, because when you're using hot water in the kitchen, inevitably everything is all the hot chametz.
Rises up on
Not only steam, this steams the halbatzara. You have actually real chametz coming onto the faucet during the year. So then you have to kasher it. So if you can't kasher it, then you cover it. How do you cover it? You cover it with cheesecloths. It's the most practical thing.
The bottom part, the cup where the water actually comes out of.
Yeah.
You could easily replace. I found on Sears parts that come.
No, you're talking about because at the bottom of the sink, at the bottom of the sink, there's actually screws, and there's actually not a washer, strainer. Strainer. Okay, it's called in English a strainer. Now, a strainer you can't kasher for Pesach.
I'm not talking
One
about the
b'takel.
drain. I'm not talking about the drain. I'm talking about on the faucet.
Yeah,
There's the ones that they pull out.
Yeah.
So that's something that there's a head to it.
no.
Where you can make a spritz, like a shower. Or
Right.
So that, I'm saying, is that more important to kasher than other parts, or to replace? It's not so much.
That's,
Yeah, plastic.
huh?
Yeah,
I know what you do. Some people used to change the faucet every year for a Pesach ticket faucet. Wow. Okay. Then what happens when you do that? If you know how to do it yourself, it's good. If you need a plumber to do it, it's at least $150. But besides that, then the plumber told me once, you keep doing that, you're going to ruin it. It's not going to hold anymore. Because you keep screwing, it's not made to screw in and screw out 30 times. He told me you can't do it because that's what's going to happen to your sink. But many people would change it. Now, again, as we all know, taking things apart is very easy. Putting them back together is where it's complicated. Every person knows how to take things apart. But the question is, how do you put it back together? So if you know how to do it, there's halbatzara. If you take out that whole spritzer area and you replace it, including the coil, right? Not the coil. But that coil you can't kasher. That coil you can't kasher. All the kasher books read about it.
Rabbi, if you were to attach it in a way that you can't pull it, you put a Band-Aid or something.
A Band-Aid?
Or whatever, you put some kind of a tape,
Yeah, but you still have to cover the faucet.
faucet, and you cannot put hot boiling water on the...
I told you if it's plastic, you can't do it. Only if it's metal. If it's metal, you could do it. But most of them are plastic.
So therefore,
You can't kasher plastic for Pesach. That's what most people write.
when you put the table, the cloth on it, it's going to help you.
Yeah, because it's like a new cover. He said that you could put foil over it. But yeah, but cheesecloth is just it's more practical. Come on, guys. Let's get practical.
It just looks hospitalized.
Looks hospitalized. Pesach, the matzah is food of healing. So Pesach in the house is a hospital, a spiritual hospital. So you make it look like a physical hospital. You put cheesecloth, you do this, that's it.
You start saying about the drain.
I didn't say about the drain. Now the drain is like this. When you have a drain, so even if you have a stainless steel sink, by the way, even if it's a stainless sink, around the edge of the drain is a thin metal layer, right?
Yes.
Okay. That you can't kasher because it's metal on metal and it's impossible to clean out the dirt that exists between the two layers of metal.
There's a rubber in it.
You can't clean it out. And therefore you can pour boiling hot water, it's not going to really kasher it properly. So what people do, even if they have a stainless steel sink that they kasher with boiling hot water, they'll get a rack, not the tub. They'll actually just get a rack that covers the bottom drain area, and then they put it on top of that. So then it's not a problem because you're not touching the drain area.
Strainer that covers that as well, probably does the same thing.
What?
Like they have those sink strainers that goes over that area.
If you have a sink strainer that taka goes over that area, you're right, then that would be good. But it doesn't, you have to make sure it goes over the whole, yeah.
Low torch, you won't do the job?
It will do the job of making a hole in your sink. That's what's going to happen.
It has to be recovered.
No, it doesn't, the sink does not need Lieben Gomer. The sink needs Lieben Kal.
When it's double metal and...
It doesn't need Lieben Gomer. The only problem is if you're going to do a good Lieben, you're going to melt the glue between the two metals. And then it's going to come off. It's going to come off. Okay, next. If the ovens. Okay, if you have a self-cleaning oven, turn on self-cleaning, leave the racks in, everything in. You turn on the self-cleaning cycle for 3 hours, and then you have it 100% kashered. But as we mentioned previously in the class, that there's a new style of self-cleaning. The old ovens of self-cleaning used to get up to 900 degrees. That 900 degrees, that's the temperature self-cleaning ovens that run the 3-hour cycle, 4-hour cycle, whatever it is. So those get up to 900 degrees. 900 degrees, according to Halacha, is what's called Lieben Gomer. It makes it red hot. How does the self-clean cycle clean the oven? It's so hot, it gets everything from inside, it gets it out. So that would be Lieben Gomer. Today, the new ovens that are officially self-cleaning, so there's an Aqualift, it's called GE, there's a different few companies, that there's a new style that the government made them do, that it doesn't get to 900 degrees. They felt, first of all, it breaks the oven, and then it's dangerous, 900 degrees in the oven, it could be dangerous. So now what they do, they have a new style of self-cleaning that's called Aqualift. I mean, that's one of the companies. Aqualift is a self-cleaning cycle that it only gets to 250 degrees. It gets to 250 degrees, maybe a little bit more, but definitely nowhere near 900. I was told it gets to 250. I read it somewhere also. It gets to 250 degrees. So how does it clean the oven? It cleans it with the chemicals. They have a whole thing with the chemicals and the heat of 250 degrees. It self-cleans the oven. That's good for cleanliness. But kashering, it's only 250. If you turn on the oven to the highest, which is royal, which gets to 550, it's much better than even the 250. 250 is nothing. So people have to be careful. If they have, I'll never forget that a few years ago I was giving a class in Long Beach. I was talking about this new thing, Aqualift, and a lady in the crowd there says, "Oh my God, I just bought a brand new oven today for Pesach. With Aqualift." I said, "Lady, you're not going to be able to kasher. There's a Lubavitch, you're not going to be able to kasher for Pesach." So she gave it back. The next day she gave it back, and she got the one that. But more and more, it's hard to find the 900-degree self-cleaning oven because.
How about the ones that are not with gas? How do you do that?
Electric ovens also have self-cleaning cycles. Now there are opinions in Halacha that say, there are more lenient opinions, that say if you have if you have an oven and it's spotless, you check with a flashlight to make sure it's, and then you turn it on to the highest broil for an hour, so there are opinions that say it's good for Pesach.
You have to take
The Sfardim for sure say it's good. What?
to see if anything fell into the holes underneath it.
If you have a gas stove, electrics don't have holes at the bottom. What?
Royal, totally kosher the Pesach, clean meat while you do that?
No.
Why?
Because you can't.